So in today's video, we're going to go through anxiety a little bit deeper, and that can be anything from the healthy version of anxiety all the way through to panic attacks. And that's whether you experience anxiety in your own life or whether you're supporting someone that does. This video's got a lot of really great information and also lots of links to go deeper into the things that Jess is going to talk to us about today.
So we're going to take a little bit more of a look at anxiety today.
Yep.
We kind of introduced it last week, but just for a little bit of a recap on the symptoms first.
Okay.
So as we can see on the screen, there's a whole bunch of ways that anxiety presents itself. We might be overthinking. I am a classic overthinker, Ben.
Yes, I'll take 2 hands up for that one. I can be overthinking.
And look, some things can be physical as well. So we might actually get stomach issues. I know that's something I feel anxiety in my gut a lot.
Okay.
We might be procrastinating things, constant worrying, rapid heartbeat.
Okay.
Sweating, might even lead to a panic attack, which we'll touch on later. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that do come along with anxiety, as we can see on the screen there.
So will that look different in different people? Like I never had the stomach issues you just talked about, or I don't remember my heart racing at all, but I definitely have my head races and I can struggle to switch off. I can overthink things like that.
Yeah.
I can feel the nervous tension in my body,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say it's like in my gut or in my heart. So
Yeah.
it can be different for different people?
It can be different. Like there's things that are, I guess, fairly common for people experiencing anxiety, and a lot of it is in our excessive worrying. That's a big one when we're really overthinking or we're really worrying about things to excess that we don't need to be. But yeah, there can be physical symptoms as well, which is different for people. So it depends on how anxious you're feeling. But yeah, for me, definitely, I've always felt it. Like if I'm going through a really anxious period, then I will feel it in my gut. Like I'll feel it in my stomach, and you know that, and I'll feel that nervous sort of shake. Feeling, or it might even be thinking about before you get up and give a speech, like do you get sweaty palms, do you get
I can feel my hand,
shaky?
I can feel the tension in my body.
Yeah.
I can definitely feel that at times.
So that's anxiety as well. But actually that's something I do want to mention, and we're going to have a look at this on the screen now, is there can be anxiety that it's actually not that harmful. So like we just mentioned, getting up before a speech, you do feel that nervousness. It can be a really normal reaction to stress and difficult times. You know, it has a start and an ending point, can be motivational. It can help us, you know, get things done. And relaxation often feels better, like it helps us feel better.
Yeah.
But when it becomes an issue is when it's becoming out of control. As we can see here, it comes out of nowhere, it's intense, it's disproportionate to what's going on, lasts for weeks or months, it might interfere, really strong physical symptoms, and feeling impossible to control or manage. So
sounds like a child.
Impossible to control or manage? Can be too, but that's another series, right? Anxiety can be good in some situations and passes. So it's nothing to be too worried about if you have those moments, but it's when it's ongoing.
It's almost that overwhelming anxiety, like when it impacts your life in a negative way. Like that's more the level of anxiety we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like we all experience anxiety at some level.
Exactly.
But the unhealthy is the detrimental impacts of anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to have a look at some ways in this video of how we tend to deal with anxiety, and some better ways of dealing with anxiety. So there is something called the cycle of anxiety.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
No. What does that look like?
So I'm going to show you. So the cycle of anxiety, as we can see, it's a bit of a vicious cycle actually that we get into. So something happens that leads to us feeling anxious, and we've got those uncomfortable feelings. So we might be like overwhelmed or stressed, and we're like, oh, I don't like this feeling. So then we tend to go to avoidance. I'm going to get away from this, get rid of this.
Yep.
And that brings a sense of short-term relief. Whew, the anxious situation is gone.
Yep.
Our brain thinks, well, that's how to deal with it in future. And then we continue to avoid that thing that made us anxious, and the anxiety actually gets worse.
Okay.
So we're going to put up an example.
That. I would never have thought about it that way, but yeah, it's the anxiety I don't process that actually gets worse.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
That would
So
be true in my life for sure.
An example of this, which is now on screen, is you see a dog, all right? So you think, it's going to bite me. So that's uncomfortable. You're thinking something's going to go wrong. You're feeling fear and panic because you're thinking it's going to bite me.
Yeah.
And then, so your behavior then is to run away or to avoid. And then nothing bad happens because you ran away. And then, as we can see on here, the message to the brain is, whew, that was close. I could have died. I can't handle it. All right, let's deal with it this time. Let's deal with that again. To survive, we have to avoid. And so the anxiety continues to get stronger.
So the impulse to avoid dogs in that scenario would get stronger, is that what you're saying? Like
Yeah.
you actually...
And look, there is situations, again, where anxiety and that fear is a little bit like, okay, you might need to run away from a dog that's attacking you.
Yes, sure.
But it's when it's, it doesn't match the situation, that fear or that worry. And then we avoid it because we're thinking the worst. And so we continue to avoid it and continue to get more anxious about ever being in that situation. So one of the first strategies I wanted to have a look at was called graded exposure.
Sweet.
So,
Graded exposure.
Yes.
What's that all about?
So think about a step ladder, which is what we've got up on the screen at the moment. So it's taking small and achievable steps to facing your fear or facing your anxiety. So, and it's actually a proven treatment.
Okay.
That graded exposure over time can actually help reduce those symptoms or even get rid of it or overcome your fear of that thing. So the example that we have up at the moment is at the bottom, so the end goal at the top is to go to sleep at night with the lights off. You're not going to go straight to that because it's so anxiety provoking.
Right.
So you start with one step. So it might be stay in a dark room with dim lights for 5 minutes. Stay in a dark room for 5 minutes during the day. Stay in a dark room for 5 minutes during the night. And then increase that time until you get to the point of going to sleep at night with the lights off.
Okay. So rather than just jump straight in and try to break that cycle of anxiety, you actually take steps to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So think about that, as a ladder, as a step ladder. It's just little incremental steps towards it. And look, I would suggest as well, if it's something you've never done before, or you're particularly anxious about something, to work with someone on doing that. So when I say with someone that's a mental health professional who's actually trained to help you take those steps and overcome fear and overcome anxiety. So, but that is one of the things. It's just little incremental steps of exposure to that thing that makes you anxious. Another way that we can deal with anxiety is through relaxation techniques and mindfulness.
Cool.
So that's something I know, Ben, that you are quite big on as well.
Yeah, definitely. When I'm feeling anxious, I go to grounding techniques. Or when I know I'm going to do something that makes me nervous, like have a phone call with someone that I know is going to be heightened in the way they speak to me, or after sometimes I have those heightened emotions or feelings of anxiousness. I use meditation techniques and grounding techniques, and I've been doing it for a few years now, so I can do it fairly quickly, fairly easily now, because I think my body's almost used to it. Like my body releases tension much quicker than I ever used to. But it's a practice I've had to continue to exercise to get good at it.
So key, what you've just said there, is actually regular practice of it. To train your body essentially to activate that relaxation response, and it's not going to be beneficial to you if you just do it here and there. You've really got to practice it. But I'm just going to quickly show everyone some of the benefits of mindfulness and relaxation. So as we can see, and you would have experienced this, Ben, on the screen, there's a whole host of benefits to mindfulness, and that's evidence-backed and science-backed as well. So there's physical, mental, emotional, and relational benefits. So some of those physical things, better sleep, you can, there's so many things on here. Decreased cortisol is decreased stress, basically. Okay. You can improve your stress management. You can have decreased anxiety and negative thought patterns, which is what we're talking about here. And there's so many benefits to mindfulness. So as you said, you've experienced that, you've been practicing it, so it's important to practice it every day. We've actually got a great video on grounding techniques, so that's one of the ways you can do this, is to teach your body relaxation or to become mindful. So check that out on our Messy Thriving YouTube channel, which you're on. Check out grounding techniques. Breathing is another one. Again, those breathing exercises that just slow down your heart rate, slow down your breathing. And another good one for anxiety is progressive muscle relaxation.
What's that? I don't think I've ever experienced that before.
So you start, you obviously can't see my feet right now, but you'd start at your feet and work your way up your body, but it's when you clench your muscles, so you'd be clenching your fists and you feel the tension in your body, and you hold that for about 10 seconds and then you release it. And you feel the tension go from your body and you work your way through your muscle groups. So your feet, your calves, your thighs, your backside, your fists, forgot what they're called. And you can even clench your face and your jaw and then relax. And it's just helping release the tension physically from your body as well. So that's one of the other techniques that you can do.
So you do that when you're feeling anxious, you would go to that physical spaces, actually feel the tension.
It can be helpful in that moment, but it's really good just practice for releasing physical tension in your body, just again as a daily practice.
So it doesn't have to be when you're in a place of heightened anxiety.
All of the mindfulness and relaxation techniques are really good on a daily basis because it's just constantly teaching your body to calm down. It's consistently teaching your mind to become more present. It's consistently teaching you to have a bit more acceptance of your thoughts as well, and to teach your body to switch on the relaxation response, which has then flow-on effects after that as well. So mindfulness, relaxation, grounding techniques. Again, check out that video, grounding techniques, because we actually go through a few more in there as well. So and the final thing, actually before the final thing, again, I would encourage if people are experiencing extreme anxiety to go and see someone, get some professional support.
So what would extreme anxiety look like?
When it's really impacting your life in a big way. So you might have anxiety that actually stops you from going to work or going out into social situations, or you are having really strong physical symptoms on a regular basis of anxiety. And there's different types of anxiety as well. So seeing a doctor, seeing a counsellor, a psychologist can help you identify whether perhaps you do have an anxiety disorder that does need a little bit more specific treatment and strategy around it. And it's all treatable. It's all manageable. So I'd really encourage you to talk to someone about it, and sometimes just talking when we're experiencing an episode of anxiety or a season of anxiety can help just detangle everything and calm down and manage that for that season as well. So really important to go and see someone. And the final thing I wanted to touch on quickly is panic attacks. So this is something that can happen to, I think it's 1 in 4 of us will experience that in a lifetime.
It's common, isn't it?
It is.
But when I think back, I've got a number of friends and family that have or do experience panic attacks.
Yeah. I've had them before. I think I've had 1 or 2 in my lifetime. And so it's going to affect most of us in that we'll know someone that's had one, or we'll have one ourselves. And what I will say around having a panic attack is don't be embarrassed. It's actually something, again, that we do experience. It can be really scary at first. So I'm going to pop up some signs of a panic attack or symptoms. So as you would probably be aware, Ben, and I know I have been, when this happens, it can come on really suddenly, and it's really physical symptoms. So we might get dizzy, or we might start hyperventilating. So hyperventilating was one for me. You might get really sweaty, be trembling or shaking, get chills or hot flushes, heart palpitations. Some people who've never had one before really get fearful because with the heart palpitations, they think it might be a heart attack. So those are a few signs of a panic attack, and it comes on very quickly.
Yeah, for one of my close friends, it felt like they were going to die. Like that sense of a heart attack was super overwhelming. It was almost like scared for their life.
It can be scary. And look, you know, when in doubt, of course, like reach out to someone medical. But if you are experiencing one, or you know someone, or you witness someone experience a panic attack, you know, it's try and take a seat if you can, grab a glass of water if you can, know that it will pass, remind yourself that it's passing and it will pass and that you're safe, and just try and sort of just sit and ask for help if you need it.
Right.
And it can be worth going and talking to someone about, I've had a panic attack, I don't know where it came from, or maybe you do, because it's often a build-up of stress or overwhelm.
Okay.
If you're starting to have them regularly, definitely see someone and get some support around that, because again, 1 in 4 of us will experience them, but often it's only the one. Okay. So very few go on to have multiple, and even fewer go on to have panic disorder. So it's something that can be dealt with, and you know, certainly don't ever feel embarrassed for having one if you do have one, because it is very common, and it might just be a build-up of stress and overwhelm in that moment. That then you actually just need to go and deal with the stress, right? That's another thing.
So it's like you're a therapist, but in my understanding of it, it's like your body processing something that you haven't been able to process yet. And it comes out in that physical way. Is that part of what it is?
It can be. Look, it can be a build-up of stress and overwhelm, and it can be a build-up of anxiety and that excessive worry. So it's all sort of interlinked, stress and anxiety, and even like we said in the previous video, depression as well. So, you know, if you're unsure, please do go and talk to someone. And, you know, we only really touched on a couple of strategies today for anxiety. There's a lot more. I have a lot of access to resource as well if you want to come and chat with me, but also we've popped some links down below the video for more information and more strategies around anxiety. And the best thing you can do is just be informed and learn about it, and start there. So talk to someone.
Cool.